All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's now my great pleasure to introduce the athletic director of New Albany High School. Please welcome Shawn Garmon.
Thank you, Brent. Good evening. Welcome, Bulldog fans, friends, and alumni to the annual Sports Social. I believe this is year 6. We hope you come back and see us each and every year. Who has it better than Bulldog fans? Nobody. Nope, we've got it so good. We're so blessed tonight to have two legends in their field, Larra Overton and certainly Don Fischer, our guest. So we are extremely lucky to have them with us tonight. Special thanks to both. I know Don had to attend a funeral today for his longtime partner, Joe Smith, and certainly pass along our condolences to that family. And also Larra. Larra is giving of her time in probably her busiest time of the year. She's getting ready to gear up for the Colts season, and Larra has been a great friend to me for a long time, and certainly a great supporter of New Albany Athletics. So thank you, Larra, for making time for us. I want to take time to thank those who make this event possible each and every year. Special thanks to our title sponsor, the City of New Albany, and Mayor Jeff Gahan, who is a great supporter. Yes, give him a hand. Mayor Gahan is a great supporter of New Albany High School and all programs at the high school, not just athletics. We thank the mayor for his unwavering support, and we greatly appreciate you making this happen once again, Mayor. Thank you so much. Also like to thank our many table sponsors tonight. We appreciate all of you. All of you are big supporters. I hate to name them all. I'll probably miss one. We appreciate each and every one of you and all that you do. A special thanks to Marty and Bonnie Shireman, great Bulldog supporters. Marty, Bonnie, where are you guys at? Raise your hand. They're way back there. They donated these wonderful programs tonight, so give them a round of applause. The programs are fantastic. Thank you, guys. Your tickets tonight were donated by 323 Inc. They do a lot of work for New Albany High School. Fantastic. Also, I want to make a special thank you to a good friend of mine who I've gotten to know a lot this summer, primarily because of construction, and that's Wayne Hampton with IRC. Wayne, wave your hand. Wayne works for Insulated Roofing Contractors. I got it right, Wayne. First time ever. He helps the school system tremendously. He doesn't just do roofing, he does a lot of other things. He has been a great friend to me this summer. He's been a great friend to New Albany Floyd County Schools, and Wayne, we appreciate all that you do for us. Thank you. Special thanks to, she could not make it tonight. Special thanks to Jane Shine and Charlie Bond, who sponsored our wonderful dessert tonight. And I'm going to bring up a good friend of mine who's got to be a good friend of mine. So, Jerica, come on up. So for those of you who don't know Jerica Tinsley, she is the owner of the desserts provided tonight, Norma Jean's Bakery. She is she, for sure. She is the hottest thing in New Albany right now. She and I had talked a long time about doing this. She agreed to do it. We got lucky. The timing was right. She's getting ready to move into a new facility on Graybrook Lane. Most of you remember the old Mom and Pop's ice cream store. She'll be moving in there hopefully by September the 1st. Is that right? So we're excited for her to provide our desserts, and just wanted to say a special thank you to Jerica for giving up a Friday night for us. So.
Thank you.
Also want to thank good friend of mine for a long time, Brent Rogers, his crew from SUP. Also, special thanks to Nate Samsel. He is our new WNAS Executive Director. Both of these guys frequently make my last-minute request, ideas, visions come to life, and I can't thank you both enough. Thank you, Brent. Thank you, Nate. A few personal thank yous, and I hope I don't miss anybody. I know that I will, so I'm sorry. Tried to think of this as fast as I could today while we're setting up. To my administrative team, my team at New Albany, especially Dr. Jenkins, good friend of mine for a long time and a great boss. So appreciate all that Dr. Jenkins does, and certainly appreciate all of your support. When you show up to events, it means the world to me, it means the world to our kids, and I wouldn't trade my team for anything. So Miss Miller, who's back there? Mr. Lord, Mr. Null's not here tonight. I know Miss Wright's not here, and certainly Jamie Crick, you're still part of the team too. So thank you guys, love you guys. Also want to thank school board members, Dr. Madison, his cabinet, I'd like to thank you for allowing me to lead this wonderful athletic department. Can't thank you enough for giving me the opportunity. Your continuous support and willingness to invest in our athletes has made a tremendous difference in our culture and will for years to come. And I want to thank you guys from the bottom of my heart, Chris Street, Janine, all of you. Thank you so much. To the staff and volunteers, Sally, Rio, Mickey, Robbie, custodians, concessions crew, the old guard, Flora, Breeding, Niemeyer, Jim King, all of you, Mike, O'Leary. Thank you guys for your tireless work and patience with me. I know sometimes I ask a lot. Again, I wouldn't trade my team for anything. Appreciate all of you. Just want you to know how valued you are, and thank you guys all so much. Donnie Unruh, thank you for continuing to be my mentor and for being a friend that allows me to sound off from time to time. Your friendship means the world to me, and I appreciate your timely advice, and there's nothing better than learning from the best, and Donnie Unruh is one of the best. Donnie, thank you so much. To my business manager, Avery Brand, you become my right-hand man. Appreciate your passion and dedication to the profession and everything that we try to do at New Albany High School. You've really taken off. You'll make a great AD one day, and I can't thank you enough for all you do for me and how hard you work for New Albany High School. So I don't see Avery, but if Avery's right back there, Avery, thank you so much. Appreciate all you do. And to our coaches, thank you for sacrificing your time with family to pour into our student athletes. We couldn't do it without you. Your commitment to excellence is already changing the culture at New Albany, and I thank you each from the bottom of my heart. So our coaches are back there. If you're a coach, raise your hand, stand up. Thank you guys. Thank you for being here. Thank you for all you do. Every student athlete will hear this message. We're here to win championships. If you don't want to win championships, I'm just kidding. I'm just making sure you guys are still awake out there. Last but not least, I want to thank my wife, Julie, our boys, and our family. This is a job where you sacrifice a lot of time. And I can't thank you guys enough for allowing me to do what I love to do. And I just want to tell you guys, thank you for sharing my vision, my passion, and thank you for all that you do. And I love you guys more than you'll ever know. Thank you so much. Just 2 years ago, we had no sectional championships, no Hoosier Hills championships. Just 2 years later, we won 2 sectional titles, a regional title. We're within a whisker of winning a semi-state title, and we had 3 Hoosier Hills titles this year. We are trending up. We will get back to where we were. A lot of you have asked, the main gym construction is going along well. It is scheduled to be finished on October 12th. I liken it to building a house. Sometimes it goes really fast, then it slows down, then it goes fast. Right now we're just kind of in a lull. Hop on our Facebook page. You can get updates frequently on there, but we will hopefully be finished by October the 12th. In addition to that, our auxiliary gym is near complete. It's a much nicer facility. Again, this is all thanks to the school board, the administration for investing in our facilities. We now have a remodeled press box at football, a remodeled locker room that looks fantastic. Those pictures will be coming next week. A few other things here. Season tickets for basketball. A lot of people have asked about that. This is our year. We're going to add another date to that new floor we have. This is our year. So we're excited about that. Coach Jones has done a great job, and we're excited about the season going forward. Truly an exciting time to be a Bulldog. I've talked enough. You guys want to hear Don Fischer. I'm out of here, so go Dogs.
So before we bring up our featured speaker, I've been told we have a couple of housekeeping notes, and that is we have been presented with 2 live auction items. So I am no auctioneer, I promise you. However, we did this last year. We had a little bit of success, so we're going to try it again. Our first auction item is a national championship winning team Indiana University football helmet signed by none other than the voice of Indiana, Mr. Don Fischer. We're going to auction this off. I'm sure some of you would love to have this helmet. I'm going to set it right here, and I'm going to start it out at $200. You just throw your hand up. I'll figure it out later. I've got Cody right here with $200. Can I have $250? Louis, I see you back there at $250. We'll go to $300. Anyone? I've got somebody in the back. I'm not sure your name. It's going to be $300. I'll take it to $350. Just throw your hand up. $350. I've got you, ma'am, in the red dress. I'll go $4 right here. Jean jacket. $5. Let's just take it to $5. You're raising your hand at $5. I got you. Let's take it to $550. I got $550 down front. We'll take it to $6. Don is in the room, so you might want to step it up just a notch. We'll take it to $650 right now. $650. Anyone? I've got $650 right here. $700. $707. I've got you right here. $700. I'll go. Let's take it to $800. Why not? I've got $800 here. I'm looking for $9. You think about it. $900. I'm looking for $900. I've got $900 back there. I think that's the same lady bidding against her. You know what? I'll let you guys work that out tonight. I've got you at $900 and $800. We'll take it to $1,000. Do we have anyone that's willing to give $1,000? I've got you right here, sir. I'll take it to $1,100. $1,100. Boom, you're back. $1,200. I've got 11 here. I'm looking for $1,200. I've got 1,100 going once. I've got 1,200 in the back. Is that correct? Are you raising your hand to say you want this helmet for $1,200? No, you're 1,100. You're still in? Going once? Oh, excuse me. He just stepped it up to 1,500. That's how this game works. Give him a big round of applause. I'm looking for 1,600 now. You're in at 1,600. She said, no way, you're getting out of here. She wants it for 16. I'm looking for 17. I've got 16 going once. 16 going twice. Sold $1,600. You walk right up here and take this helmet, young lady. She had it at $800. She also had it at $900. And she wins it for $1,600. Congratulations. All right. We have one more item to auction off. We auctioned this off last year, and it was quite the success. Now, I want to make sure that I get this correct. You can become a season ticket holder to a Cubs game at Wrigley Field. So you're going to win 2 tickets to each of 3 games at a homestand for the Pittsburgh Pirates, September 11th, 12th, and 13th. It includes post-game on-field photo pass, an autograph session with the former or current Cubs players, and a tour of historic Wrigley Field prior to the game. Each one of those, you get 6 tickets, 2 tickets to each game. You can split it up with your friends or keep them all for yourself, but this is 6 tickets to the Cubs games, the 11th, 12th, and 13th. You're going to be seated at the premium upper deck between home plate and first base. These are sponsored by Cahoon Capital. We'll start this out at $500. Is anyone interested in $500 for the Cubs game? 6 tickets. I've got 500 here. We'll take it to 6. $600. I'll take it for $600. How about that? $600 is to me. Anyone want it for $700? $700. 6 tickets to Wrigley Field, the 11th, 12th, and 13th. Going once to me. You can't let me win, like just FYI. Going twice. Thank you, sir. Bail me out. I appreciate that. I've got you at $700 right here. I've got $700 going once. $700 going twice. He's holding his breath. $700 sold to that man right here. Come up and get this for me. Don't be shy. Come up here and take this. Otherwise, I'll end up keeping it. There you go, my guy. So I didn't know it was Pat. I might not have let him bail me out if I'd have known it was Pat McCright. Thank you, Pat. We appreciate it, all you do. Give him a big round of applause. Ladies and gentlemen, those were just a few of the calls from Mr. Don Fischer. Now, before we bring Don up, we want to introduce our MC. She is an Emmy award-winning sports broadcaster, reporter, and producer who grew up right here in New Albany, Indiana, and graduated from New Albany High School in 2001. A former standout NCAA track and field and cross-country student-athlete at Indiana University, she earned degrees in broadcast journalism and sports communication before launching her media career. She worked as a sports anchor and reporter for Indianapolis affiliates and an in-arena host for the Indiana Pacers before joining the Indianapolis Colts full-time as a host, producer, and team radio sideline reporter. In addition to her NFL coverage, she is a prominent national collegiate sports analyst and sideline reporter for ESPN, the SEC Network, and the Big Ten Network, specializing in track and field and football. She lives in Indianapolis with her husband, Dan. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back Larra Overton. Now, before we get going, I'm going to simply ask, if you are a former New Albany High School athlete, please stand. Thank you all. Now, tonight's special guest. And when I say legendary, I mean legendary. He is the voice of the Hoosiers, serving as the official radio play-by-play announcer for Indiana University football and men's basketball since 1973. You may have seen some of the pictures out front to indicate 1973. Over a historic career spanning more than 50 seasons and more than 2,200 broadcasts, he has called countless defining moments in IU athletics, including NCAA tournament appearances and national titles in men's basketball under Bobby Knight, as well as Indiana's football's historic 16-0 season and first ever college football playoffs national championship. He is a 32-time Indiana Sportscaster of the Year, while also being inducted into the Indiana Broadcast Pioneers Hall of Fame and IU Athletics Hall of Fame. He grew up in Rochelle, Illinois. He worked for the railroad and after high school in Northern Illinois, where he started a correspondence course for sportscasting. He got a job at a radio station in Terre Haute, doing play-by-play for 175 high school and college games a year, setting the foundation for a historic career as a broadcaster. Today, he continues to serve as the voice of the Hoosiers on the Indiana University Radio Network, known for his meticulous preparation and vivid masterful storytelling. He remains one of the most respected broadcasters in collegiate sports history. New Albany High School, please welcome Don Fischer.
Don, we just have to live up to that intro now. Can we get a round of applause for Brent? Thank you so very much. It is so awesome to be here and be back with you, my friend.
It's great to be with you, Larra. And people don't know, we did Indianapolis Colts preseason games for a few years together.
We certainly did. I joked with you earlier that, it was about 10 years ago that this week, you and I were on a flight to Buffalo to call the first preseason game, Colts versus Bills, and I'm sitting in between yourself, and Coach Venturi. And I'm thinking, what in the world did I do right that I'm sitting in this seat right here, and I'm trying to just absorb by osmosis every bit of wisdom and information that I can from Coach Venturi and from yourself. So it is so wonderful, and I'm so humbled to get to have this seat with you here tonight.
Well, it's great to be here. I'm stunned that this many people would show up for me. I would also tell you that here's what I do know about Larra. She was expected to be a boy. Because she told me the story. Your dad's here, isn't he?
He's here. My dad is here.
Yeah. And I think he wanted to name you Larry. Am I correct?
It may have been suggested.
Yeah. Well, that's why that's why her name is Larra, not Larry.
That's always how people remember my name, is that they know my dad's name is Larry.
I could never forget that story.
Well, Don, I want to certainly extend our condolences. As Shawn mentioned, the loss of Joe Smith, which has been felt so strongly and so emphatically, and I know you honored his life earlier today. Is there a particular story that may have come from today or that you've remembered in so fondly the many decades that you and Joe had together?
Well, we were together for 40 years. He served our network for 40 seasons. I got him as a stat guy initially, but Joe was a kind of a jack of all trades type guy, and we had him, not only did he do stats for me in the beginning, but then he became my engineer at one point and was doing the broadcast engineering because he was a radio guy and he knew what I wanted to, or how I wanted it done on the radio, how I wanted it to sound, those kinds of things. And so he was a natural fit in that regard. But then he became much more than that. He became my spotter. He was our pregame, halftime, and postgame guy. He did a tremendous job in those areas. And after 40 seasons, he retired. But he didn't stop broadcasting because he is a sports legend in Bloomington, Indiana. He has been the play-by-play voice for all the high schools there, Edgewood, Bloomington South, Bloomington North, and covered Indiana University, not just with what he did for us, but with all the sports shows that he did on a daily basis. I mean, he is a true legend in Bloomington and, without question, one of their great Hall of Famers there. A great person in so many ways, quirky as heck, but just a great guy in so many ways, and obviously we're going to miss him. He passed away about a month ago, had the memorial service today, and you cannot believe, he must have been a hoarder on top of everything else because he had every press pass for the last 50-some years that he's been in Bloomington. For everything that he did that needed a press pass, he's got all of them. And they had numerous pictures and all those kinds of things. It was a great honoring of him today in Bloomington, and obviously we're going to miss him.
So very sorry for your loss, and thank you so much for making the time for us today. I know you mentioned earlier that you can't believe this many people came out for tonight. Can you believe that somebody paid $1,600 for your signature on an IU helmet? How about that?
Young lady, you overpaid.
We saw those two videos that played before he came up on stage, and I hope everyone got to see that poster out front of your early days of broadcasting. If not, I'm pretty sure the street lights still work, so everyone, take a moment as you walk out. But if you look at, that young broadcaster 53 years ago, could you have imagined telling that guy, you'll call 3 Indiana national titles in basketball and an undefeated football season to take Indiana football to college football royalty?
Well, here's what I will tell you. Up until 2 years ago, I didn't think it was possible for Indiana to win anything in football on a consistent basis. What I do know is that Indiana hired a guy named Curt Cignetti. What he has done in 2 years, absolutely the most incredible thing I've ever seen in sports. You don't take a program that has the reputation as being the losingest program in the history of Division I college football, and in 2 years' time, make them a national champion. If you think about this, Cignetti came here after a team that won 3 games, and he goes 11-2 in year 1, 16-0 in year 2, wins a national title. If you're not the best college football coach in the country, then it couldn't be done, because that's exactly what this man did. And I'm saying this because I've said it to everybody that asks me the question, who do you think Curt Cignetti is? And I say he is the smartest college football coach, and he may be the smartest coach I've ever been around. And I don't say that lightly, because I was around Bob Knight for 27 of his 29 years, and I thought Coach Knight was a great basketball coach. But Curt Cignetti's not only a great basketball coach, he's a tremendous human being on top of that. And what he said when he first was introduced to the crowd at Assembly Hall back his first year here, and where he said, Purdue sucks, and so does Ohio State and Michigan. And they went and backed it up, which is awesome in every way possible.
You said you certainly never thought you would see Indiana football to a national championship, but that difference was made by Coach Cignetti. When was the moment upon working with Coach Cignetti that you started to see what was possible and that the Indiana Hoosiers realistically could be national champions in football?
Well, believe it or not, Larra, I'm going to tell you this is the truth. I went and saw 10 of his first 13 spring practices. After I watched those 10 spring practices, I can tell you I thought this team is going to win. Now, I didn't know how big they were going to win initially, and I thought it might take some time, because at Indiana, everything takes time when it comes to winning and losing on the football field. It didn't take any time at all. The guy went 11-0 before they finally got beat. And I'm just telling you, I knew immediately after watching those practice sessions how he went about his business, what he talked about in his press conferences leading up to the season, and how he handled himself, number one, but number two, how he went through all the processes that he talked about, and the way he goes about his business never changes. He took a flyer on himself when he left Nick Saban in Alabama, his last assistant coaching job. He took a flyer on himself and went to Indiana University, Pennsylvania. You probably all know the story if you're an Indiana fan of any kind, because this story is phenomenal. But he took a flyer on himself, basically went to the smallest school he could possibly go to, or smallest division, and won. And then he went to Elon, and he won. And then he went to James Madison, and he won. He didn't have a losing season in 13 years before he came to Indiana. And then he won. Can you imagine doing that, number one, because you were making a lot of money at Alabama. He got cut about 3 times the salary that he was going to make at Indiana University, Pennsylvania to start his head coaching career. I really think he has a chip on his shoulder, because nobody ever would hire him as a coordinator. Not just they hired him as assistant coaches, but he was never a coordinator either. And the guy has done nothing but win since he became a head coach. So he is someone that is ultimately the most confident person I've ever been around, and yet at the same time, doesn't flaunt it over you in any way, shape, or form, except when he says, Purdue sucks, Ohio State, so did Michigan. Yeah. So he did, but he also said, and he told his wife, and he's told us this, that he probably overspoke in that context. But he said, this place, he was talking about IU, and the environment that we saw there from a football perspective, and the fan base looked at like, death warmed over, didn't care about football. But there were people who did, but there weren't many. All of a sudden, Indiana football is selling out every ball game like it's never happened before. It's never happened where Indiana sold out every ball game, every game on a season, I should say. And this year, they've done it. They will be all the tickets are taken, but there are some single tickets available, just in case you're wondering, because they held some of those out. Now, don't think you're going to get them cheap, because that's not going to happen, because Indiana has to pay all these athletes now, just like everybody else does, and that's a whole different can of worms. The mayor and I were talking about that earlier. Neither one will divulge that conversation. All I can tell you is this. Indiana football is not going back. It's going to be, under Curt Cignetti, as good as it will ever be, because that guy is the smartest football coach I've ever run into.
I'll make sure I tell Scott Dolson that you did the push for the tickets, those remaining tickets, so that you've appeased that. You mentioned, of course, the years that you have had now with the 2 seasons with Coach Cignetti and the many years that you had with Coach Knight. And it's natural to put those two in the same conversations, because those are the 2 men who have taken IU football and IU men's basketball to the top of the NCAA. Are there, in the time that you've spent with each of them, are there similarities? Are there common characteristics that have allowed both of those men to not only be so individually successful, but so successful with Indiana?
Well, I think the most common thing that I can say about the 2 of them is that both of them are really old school coaches in the sense of how they go about their business, how they view players, how they vet players coming into the program. And Coach Knight lost some players because they couldn't handle it. And that's going to happen. It's likewise in football, too. There are some players that Donovan McCulley's a perfect example. Coach Cignetti's first year, having him in spring practice, you could see that there was something that was going to be a problem. And it wasn't because Donovan was a bad kid. He's a great young man. But he the 2 or 3 times that I watched him in practice before he decided to transfer, you could just tell there was something that they weren't hitting it off. And I don't know what that was specifically. All I can tell you is that he wasn't practicing like I'd seen him practice before. Now, maybe he came into the season thinking that I'm the man now, or that kind of thing. I don't know. All I can tell you is that Coach Cignetti doesn't put up with that kind of thinking. You are part of a football team. That's number one. And if you do not participate in that context with your teammates, with the coaches, you understand the role that you have, those kinds of things, then he's probably not going to keep you, and you're probably going to want to leave anyway because you don't like that role. So I can't tell you why he left specifically, but you could see it wasn't working. And Cignetti's not a guy that runs players off. So he didn't force the kid to leave or anything like that. He basically said, this is the way it is, and if you don't like it, it might be the right thing to do to, look someplace else.
In addition to calling more than 2,200 games for men's basketball and football, you also host the Coaches Show. In the time that you had these conversations with Coach Knight, what influence did he have on you as a broadcaster?
Influence?
Well, influence, impact. What's a particular anecdote or story that you can share about maybe some of those conversations or opportunities that
I already
you two
told
had?
the mayor all my stories. I don't know. I don't know if I can repeat those stories. No, I can't.
Do you want, Jeff? You want to come up here? You want the mic?
No, the truth of the matter is, Coach Knight was a tough dude. He was tough to deal with. He was very difficult in certain situations, especially after losses. We never had a post-game show. There was a reason for that. Because when they did lose, it was never a pleasant thing to be in the locker room or anything like that. I mean, he was a tough guy, and he handled his players very tough. Some guys could not handle it, and I understand that. But if you almost talk to every player that played for Coach Knight for any length of time, and I'm talking about 3 or 4 years, most of them did play that long for Indiana back in the day, because it's all changed now, as we know. But the fact of the matter is, those players revere Coach Knight because they felt that he made them tougher, more mentally strong than they ever probably anticipated they could be. So from that standpoint, and Cignetti's a lot like that too, but not so personal, if you know what I'm saying. He doesn't make things personal. He basically tells you if you did something wrong, he goes up to you, he tells you what you did wrong, and doesn't expect you to do it again. So, I mean, the process that these two guys, you know, how they went about their business was very similar in that context. But I can't tell you that they're perfectly similar because they're not. Right. The one thing I will tell you is that both of them did, and and Cignetti still does, because obviously Coach has passed. But Cignetti watches more film than any coach I've ever been around, except for Coach Knight. Because Coach Knight watched film all the time. He watched film of the teams that they were going to play. He watched film of his own practices. He watched film of other teams. And Cignetti does exactly the same thing. And I would argue that Cignetti probably does more of that than Coach Knight did. But Coach Knight was adamant about doing the same thing. And the one thing that I think is also similar is that Cignetti vets every single person that walks into the building that's going to be involved in football. He vets them all. I'm talking about players, high school recruits, transfer portal kids, people that are coming into this administration to be part of the program in whatever role that they're going to have, and the coaches he brings in. Most of these guys stay with him because he is one of the fairest football coaches I've ever been around, in the sense of saying, look, we're going to practice for an hour and 50 minutes. It's going to be a tough practice. Everything's going to be choreographed so that you guys aren't standing around doing nothing. And we're going to have a great practice, and that practice is going to last about an hour and 50 minutes max. And then you're free to go. And it's not like they don't look at film before practice, or maybe some guys do it on their own after practice, but they look at film a lot too. The players do. And they're mandatory to do some of that. But they don't have to be there 24/7, so to speak, because there are a lot of coaches in football and basketball that expect that. I can name you 3 or 4 Indiana basketball coaches that have been that way. Mm-hmm. And I won't tell you who they are. So all I'm telling you is that they do things very similar in that regard, but the vetting aspect of it is probably the thing that impresses me most about Cignetti, because if you don't fit, you're not going to be there.
One of the most fun aspects of watching the entire journey, all the coverage last season, was watching it through the eyes of Coach Corso, who has become a media personality in his own right. Do you have a particular kind of memory with Coach Corso, or, you know?
I wouldn't say my memory of Lee Corso is this. He was probably had the greatest personality of any football coach, or any coach that I've ever been around, because he tried to make everything fun. And I mean, that's a good thing. I mean, you want your players to have fun, even though it's work. You want your coaching staff to have fun, because that's work. But he was one of the best I've ever seen at being a guy that was serious when he had to be serious, but also could make it fun while he was there. I spent 10 seasons with him. He only had 2 winning seasons, but he was always pleasant to deal with. So it's not one memory that I have of him. It's those memories of what a great person he was to deal with on an everyday basis. He was just one of those people that made it fun and made it interesting to be around. The one story I will tell you about him is that he was the most up and down the sideline coach I've ever seen. He is walking back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And all of a sudden you see him do like this. It's something like he was taking ammonia tablets. He was smelling ammonia tablets during a ball game. You could walk down the sideline after a ball game and you'd see 150,000 ammonia tablets strewn all along where he was walking, because he would take these ammonia tablets and that's what I was told they were. I don't know anything else. But you literally saw these capsules that were out there that he was taking, like smelling salts or something like, I don't know what it was, but I was told they were ammonia tablets. That's all I can tell you. But he was one of those guys that was always walking up and down. And here's what I will tell you, his coaches told us. His coaches would tell us that if he saw something on the field and he thought this might work, he would design it in the dirt for his coaches to tell the players what to do. They would change plays in ball games because he had an idea. 90% of them, the coaches said, never worked. But he still would do it. And he was very interesting in that context as well, because he was one of those guys that thought, I got this idea, I got to try it, that kind of thing. So anyway, Lee Corso, we're talking like if he's in the past. He's still alive, and he's a good guy in so many ways. And here's what I will tell you this. He is in the Indiana Athletics Hall of Fame. After 10 seasons, having 2 winning years, and of course they did win a bowl game in 1979 at the Holiday Bowl, which was one of the best football games that I did not do. The only game I have not done in my entire career at Indiana in football, the only one I missed was the Holiday Bowl in 1979, because Mutual Broadcasting had the broadcast rights and wouldn't allow our network to go out and broadcast the game. All the stations in the state of Indiana that wanted to carry that ball game had to take Mutual's feed, because the Mutual Broadcasting had the rights, and they would not allow our network, our local network here in Indiana, to do the broadcast. I sat in my living room and had a rubber brick that I threw at that television about every 5 minutes during that game, because I wasn't getting to do that broadcast. And it was a tremendous football game. Indiana ended up winning it in the last few seconds of the contest. And it was a great football game, and I did not get to do that game, and I'm still sick about it.
So through all of those lean years, you mentioned only 2 winning seasons under Coach Corso, the fact that this was the losingest program in college football, is that what kept you doing both? Because it is a tremendous schedule balance to handle all of the football slate and the men's basketball slate, including this year when you had to call a game in the afternoon at Gainbridge Fieldhouse and then walk downtown or get a car service across town to go over to Lucas Oil Stadium to call the Big Ten football championship.
Well, everybody thinks that was really a tough day for me. It was not. That's the greatest thing in the world. You're going to get to do a football game or a basketball game in the afternoon, and now you get to do a football game that night, and that was for the Big Ten championship. And I got to do both that day. And to me, that was as much fun as I've ever had on a broadcast. Everybody was worried about me losing my voice and all that kind of stuff, and I didn't. My voice held up. It was good throughout. You'd have to make that judgment on your own. But I handled it, and I really enjoyed it. I had a great time that day. And plus, when I left Gainbridge Fieldhouse, I had a police escort to Lucas Oil Stadium, which was only about 5 blocks away. But there was a lot of traffic that day because of what was going on downtown. And so I got a police escort, and they pulled me right up to the front door of Lucas Oil Stadium, walked right in. Hi, people, how you doing? They're all driving by, and they're all ticked off at me because I'm getting in free.
What did your prep look like that week?
The what? Prep?
What did your prep?
Well, it's interesting. Football preparation is the most difficult of the 2 sports, without question, because you have 75 or 80 guys that you have to prepare for a football game for both teams. And for basketball, you're talking about 13 guys max, or generally 13. I mean, the preparation aspect of it is a lot of reading, a lot of putting together, like in football, a spotting chart for your spotter, going over statistics, making notes on all those kinds of things, and obviously working the bios of the players that are going to play. So you're doing that for both teams in a football situation where it requires a tremendous amount of time. You know that as well as I do in regard to who you're working with and that kind of thing. So that's the toughest sport to get ready for. I will tell you this. I mean, I've been doing both sports for a long time, but I've never had to do as much work as I did this year because every week we were doing 2 games, at least 2 games, and maybe 3 and a talk show, or maybe 2 talk shows, depending on what we had going that particular week through the football and basketball season. Because back in the day, you didn't start basketball season until almost December. And now you're starting it in October with 2 exhibition games and that kind of thing. So the year for me this year, the most tiring I've ever been was on January 20th, because the championship game was January 19th, and we didn't get, Susie, I think it was 3 o'clock before we got to the hotel, or that was about 1:30 before we got to the hotel. At 3 o'clock or 3:30, we finally went up to the room and went to bed. At 5 o'clock, I got up to catch a plane to go to Ann Arbor, Michigan, to do that broadcast for Michigan that night. I got up, got to the airport okay, got to Baltimore, first stop on the tour of getting to Ann Arbor, looked at the board, because I was by myself, looked at the board. It said 2 flights, one was a Delta, one was a Southwest. I looked at the board, said, yep, I'm going to that gate. I went to the wrong gate. Sat there for an hour. I went to the Delta gate. I had a Southwest flight. So I literally go up, when I finally realized something's wrong here, I walk up to the desk and I say, this flight is going to Detroit, right? And they go, yes. And I said, what airline is this? She said, Delta. I went, could you tell me what the Southwest flight's doing right now? So she called up somebody, and the next thing I know, she said, it's backing out as we speak. I missed my flight. I was in that airport for 5 hours after that, looking for another flight, never found it. Then I started calling my bosses at Learfield and at IU Sports Properties and said, I'm not going to make it tonight. We need to do something else. And so we went and got a different announcer. A guy from Toledo went to Ann Arbor and did the broadcast of that ball game with Eric Sewer, who's my color guy in basketball. And it's just the second, well, it's the first time I've missed a basketball game because of something stupid that I did.
What was the other one?
Well, let me think about, what else did I do? Let me think about that.
Also, after that point, I mean, can we call Mark Cuban and say, my man's needs the private jet, sir? Like, we got all this money in the NIL. Let's make sure Don's not connecting through Detroit here on the Southwest flight.
Well, Mr. Cuban doesn't even acknowledge me. And he started listening to our broadcasts and set up his first company based on listening to our broadcasts because he wanted to hear what IU was doing wherever he was at.
Is it broadcast.com or something? Was that it? Yeah.
It was a Yahoo thing or something. And the next thing I knew, I mean, I've only met him one time, walked up to him at a Pacer game and introduced myself. And he said, oh, great to meet you. And I said, yeah, Mr. Cuban. I said, I understand you started your business because of our broadcast. He goes, oh, that's true. And I said, any chance I might be able to take home a couple of pesos from the opportunity that we gave you? And he goes, nope. No, he's a nice guy. He is a nice guy. But he doesn't give the university as much money as the university wants.
Well, you mentioned your lovely wife, Susie, who is here with you. And Shawn so eloquently described it earlier with the support that it takes from everyone else within your family to be able to do what this is, right? The sacrifices that you have to make. Certainly, my parents have afforded me so many opportunities. I mean, I'm so glad that they're here to be able to witness all of this, because it truly takes so much from everyone else to understand the long hours, the weekends, the holidays. What is it about your wife and your family that has allowed you to do this and love it as long as you've been doing it?
Well, my boys are all grown, of course. I got married young. My first wife allowed me to have 4 sons, and those 4 boys, are my heroes. They're great young men. They've all had success in what they do and all those kinds of things. But more than anything, this lady down here, without question, is the most important person in my life. And she has been the greatest stepmom in the history of mankind, and I'm telling you the truth about that. And my sons love her like they are their actual mom. And they love their mom too. But we got divorced. Next thing I know, I got custody of my sons, and she helped raise those boys from the time that they, when they were young. And they love her like they're her real mother. So, just so you know.
Also, go ahead.
Her name is Susie. Please stand. And now she hates me because she never wants to get introduced.
You've got all the titles. You've got a couple basketball titles and a football title. Can we get Susie a Pacers championship, please? Can you spread the love around the household?
They came close.
No.
Yeah. They came close with Tyrese a year ago, but obviously he got hurt in that last game, in the playoff game, and the championship game actually. Got hurt in the first quarter of the ball game, and next thing you know, they're out. But she works for the Pacers. Mm-hmm. She's been with the Pacers for 40 years now. We've been married for 40 years. On top of that, she has worked for Donnie Walsh, mm-hmm. who was one of the great administrators in NBA history. She worked for Larry Bird, who was also the president of basketball operations, and she works for Kevin Pritchard now. And all 3 of those guys revere her like she knows every skeleton in every closet.
I've seen it firsthand because I got to MC Pacers games for years and got to hang out, roaming, of course, around the sidelines for those games. Don, when you reflect in particular the last year specifically, what was a point that you thought, I can't believe all of this brought me here?
Well, I can tell you, when I got out of high school, I had no clue what I wanted to do. I had no understanding of what life was all about. I pretty much went off on my own at that point. Didn't go to college, went to work, had about 6 jobs before I started working for the railroad. And while I was working for the railroad, I got into, I was looking at Sport Magazine one night, and during my lunch break, my shift was 9 o'clock at night till 6 o'clock in the morning. And there was hardly anybody at the depot, this railroad depot that I worked at, because it was a nighttime job basically, and there were only 2 trains that I sold tickets for. One was at 9 o'clock at night, and one was at 6 o'clock in the morning. So the only time I was in the depot for the most part doing anything was when I was doing bills of lading and those kinds of things, paperwork type stuff, because the rest of the night I was sorting mail bags off of a freight train and putting the mail bags on different carts and these kinds of things to have guys pick them up in the morning and take them to their respective post offices in the neighboring towns. So at any rate, during my lunch hour one night, I'm sitting there looking at Sport Magazine. Back in the 1960s, Sport Magazine came into existence, and it was a competitor of Sports Illustrated. It was cheaper than Sports Illustrated, so I was getting Sport Magazine because I wasn't making much money. And I looked at the back inside cover of this one Sport Magazine one night, and it said, "How would you like to be a sportscaster?" And I said, "I think I'd like that." And so I cut out the ad, it had a coupon in it. I sent this in to a place called Career Academy in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And Career Academy was a home correspondence school. So I took a home correspondence course to get into the radio business. Along with that, I went up to the local radio station, which was a small FM in Mendota, Illinois. I went to the program director, a guy named Art Mann, and he was doing a morning shift at that time. And I said, Mr. Mann, I'd like to get into radio. I said, I've signed up for a home correspondence course. And I said, I'd like to come up to your radio station and just view what you people are doing, how you're going about your business. And he said, yeah, you can come up here. I became their gopher. I literally would go get coffee for them. I would clear the wire services. You guys probably don't know. Well, the older people in here probably know what a wire. AP and UPI, you remember those? United Press International and Associated Press. Associated Press is still alive. The rest of them are gone. But literally, I was doing a lot of their work, the busy work, dumping garbage cans and things like that, all these little things. And that's how I got started in the business. And I got about halfway through the home correspondence course. I got my first job in Butte, Montana. I was a disc jockey. I was a bad disc jockey, but I didn't care. I just wanted to get started in the business. And finally, I got into the sports side of it when I came back to Illinois. And the next thing you know, the rest is history.
We are going to make sure that we make time for a couple of questions from the audience. A couple as we wrap up here. Don, I want to ask you and we saw that ad was actually included in the video. I don't know if people were paying attention. You saw that magazine advertisement that came across the screen alongside so many of your iconic calls. I think about, who in this room remembers where they are for the Keith Smart shot or hearing the call of that one? The Watt shot, I remember so distinctly, exactly where I was. I can play it over and over. Among that, at least for me, is the Omar Cooper catch against Penn State this year. How have you as a broadcaster tried to prepare yourself for those last-minute, game-winning opportunities where you want to so perfectly illustrate exactly what's happening in the most pivotal of moments and have the right words to do it justice?
Well, the honest to goodness truth is you can't prepare for that because it's spontaneous. You don't know what's going to happen. So there's no way to prepare for it. If there is, then I've been really stupid here for the last 50-some years of doing play-by-play. It's a spontaneity thing. That's what play-by-play is. TV, you can see it, right? Radio, you can't see it. So if you're listening to the radio, you're painting a picture for your mind. And that's the gift. And I've been blessed by the good Lord to be able to do that. I have no understanding why he blessed me with that. I have no idea. All I can tell you is I've been able to do it differently than I did when I first started because I sucked the first time I did a broadcast. Literally, it was the worst in history. I still have the tape. Nobody has ever heard it, except for me. And I only pull it out on maybe a rare occasion. About every 25 years, I might pull it out just to see how stupid I really sounded, because it was terrible. I can tell you I almost got fired because of it. But 3 weeks after the guy had said I got 3 weeks left to get better, I got better really quick. And I wasn't great, but I got better and better and better. And the primary reason I got better was because I listened to every game that I did from that point forward. Listened to every single one of them to learn what I was doing right, what sounded like I thought sounded good and it didn't, or whatever the case may be. I was literally trying to find out what worked and what didn't work. And that's why I started out in small town radio, which today, there aren't very many opportunities like that. Most of the kids today that get into this business are all going to college, telecommunication classes, those kinds of things. The young man over here that is a guy that's running the radio program here for the school here. These guys are getting started in high school because they have radio stations they can be a part of, and they can get their experience that way. When I started, it was basically because everybody was doing high school sports at that time when you were in a small town radio, right? And so that's how I got experienced. And then you gradually get better and you get better because you listen to what you're doing, what's bad, what's good, what can work better, and that kind of thing. And I had a guy named Art Kimball who helped me dramatically after the first game I ever did because it was that bad. And this guy, called him up, didn't know him from Adam, and he helped me 5 hours of his time on a Sunday afternoon that allowed me to get better, and I've used the things that he taught me that day my entire career.
Well, the first time I got to broadcast from an NFL sideline was with you, and I remember thinking, just don't mess it up and get it back to Don as quickly as you can. So that was numero uno. That was absolutely first and foremost. That was my priority. So I'm going to turn the microphone over to Brent so he can kind of work the room for some questions from the audience for the legendary Don Fischer.
If you have a question, simply raise your hand and I'll come to you. We'll try to get to as many of them as we can. If you'll introduce yourself and ask your question.
Bill Briscoe. I was driving back from Atlanta. After we beat Oregon.
I'm sorry, I can't.
We're driving back from Atlanta after we've beaten Oregon.
Oregon? Wait, which time?
In the semifinal game. Semifinal game. You're calling the Nebraska game, I believe, on a Saturday. In basketball.
Oh, in basketball?
Uh-huh.
Oh, the next day. After that? What are you asking me about?
On that game, I heard you just sort of quietly question some of the calls. Do you find that the longer that you've been broadcasting, because I remember saying he doesn't question calls very much, it must be really bad. Do you find that you get yourself just you're a little bit more critical now than you were in your younger years?
Well, I can tell you that I'm much less a diplomat now than I was in my earlier years.
I think you've deserved that right.
Yeah.
You've earned that.
Yeah. I mean, the truth of the matter is, here's what I will tell you about officiating. It's the toughest job in the world because it doesn't matter if you make the right call or you make the wrong call, you're still wrong, right? I mean, to a lot of people, depending on who's looking at it, what team you're for, those kinds of things. There is no question that those guys have the toughest jobs. And it's one of the big problems in sports today, especially at the high school level. I think Mr. Garmon can tell you that simply because it's harder and harder to find good officials, to get any officials, to get officials that want to do the job these days. That's the truth. And the High School Athletic Association, I think, will tell you, and I think he can tell you as much as anybody, it's tough to find officials these days, good, bad, or indifferent. Am I right? Yeah, so that's it. No, the truth is those guys do a tremendous job. Are there any officials in here tonight? Guys that do officiating? Yeah, there's a gentleman there. That gentleman over there. Yeah. But it is a tough job. And the truth of the matter is it's one of those jobs that if you don't love it, you ain't doing it, right? I mean, you got to love it to want to do that and take the abuse that some of these guys have to deal with on an every game basis. It's sad that we can't just be fans anymore and let the officials do their job because that's one of the real problems in athletics today. It truly is.
Don, I have a student athlete here with me. I'll let him introduce himself and ask his question.
Hello, my name is Reece McKee. I'm a basketball player here at New Albany. I'm entering my senior year. I was just wondering, what do you think is more important for a player, talent, athleticism, or basketball IQ?
Wow. I think you got to have a little of all of those things, but I will tell you this. I think basketball IQ is probably the most important because if you can't figure that part of it out, if you don't understand how to play the game, and I think coaching has a lot to do with that too. I mean, your coaches have to be able to explain the game to you and get you to understand that aspect of it. So basketball IQ, I think some of it's inherent, and because you've been playing it since you were that high, that kind of thing. So I think basketball IQ is huge, but to get anywhere, you got to have talent. It's that simple.
Sir, thank you.
You bet.
I also think preparation's part of that, right, Don? And young man came prepared. He had his question outlined and well-researched.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
So my name is Graham Madison, and my question is, what was your favorite game that you ever called?
I think we just played it on January 19th. I mean, the truth of the matter is, all the big ones were great. You know, the very first game I did of a national championship was in '76, and that team was unbeaten. To this day, they have not been topped. It's the last unbeaten team in college basketball, and I love that game. I cried that game, and I cried this past January 19th. When Indiana won that national championship of football, because I didn't think it was ever going to happen.
I've got one more question over here, Larra. Raise your hand. There we are. We'll do two more questions.
There's one championship game that's not on there. It's the NIT championship. And I can't find it anywhere on YouTube. Can you tell me a little bit about the end of that game?
You're talking about '79, right? Yeah. Do you remember what happened to that game at the end? Butch Carter knocks in the free throws, right? And then they got one last shot. Purdue got one last shot. You remember who took it? Jerry Seasting. He missed. Indiana won that. That's the NIT you're talking about in '79. Yeah, you know what? That was a really good basketball game. And some of the greatest games that I've ever watched have been Indiana-Purdue games because of what was on the line, how big of ball games those were. They have not been as good since Bob Knight and Gene Cady were not on the sideline at the same time. But the rivalry is still there. It's huge. Matt Painter is a great basketball coach. I think we've got a great basketball coach in Darren DeVries. I know last year wasn't what everybody wanted it to be at the end of the season. But the fact of the matter is he had nothing but mid-major players on his team. Sam Alexis did play for Florida, but he was at Charlotte for 2 years prior to coming to Indiana. He was the only guy that had played any Division I basketball, or I say Division I, anything outside of mid-major basketball on that team last year. And that team, in my opinion, actually excelled over what expectations should have been. But because they got off to a nice start at the beginning of the season and it looked like they were going to be better than they turned out to be, people got their expectations way too high. And just so you know, Indiana fans' expectations for basketball are way beyond the norm, just so you know. And I think most people know that. If you just have some realism about it, give this guy a chance, because I think DeVries is really a good coach, and he's finally got some talent on this team that will be able to compete with a lot of the teams last year that we battled, but we couldn't beat them because they were just better than us. I don't think that'll be the case in a lot of games this year.
Don, we have a final question here.
Hello, Don. My name is Cody Hartledge. And I was just curious, after January 19th, what is your favorite sport to call, basketball or football?
Everybody asked me that, and I'll tell you what I told the mayor tonight, because he asked me the same question. I love doing play-by-play. If it was tiddlywinks, I would love doing tiddlywinks. I love doing play-by-play. It's something that I did this, and I didn't ever think that I would be a play-by-play guy. But when I was growing up and I was playing in the outfield in Pony League and Little League games and those kinds of things, I sat out there and called play-by-play out in the outfield by myself. Nobody could hear me, of course, and I was doing it basically in my mind. But I was doing a play-by-play watching the baseball game that I was playing in. So that's kind of how I when I first saw that magazine article or the magazine headline that said, "How would you like to be a sportscaster?" I went, I think I could do that. So at any rate, that's how I got started in the business, and I love doing play-by-play for both sports. People say, well, you broadcast 1 million bad football games in Indiana, right? And the truth of the matter is, I love doing all of them. You can ask my wife. I mean, I love doing the games. Just doing play-by-play is what I got into this business to do, and it's what I have had a chance to do almost my entire career. So I'm looking at, it doesn't matter what sport it is, I just love doing it. It's play-by-play.
All right. Don's heading home tonight. Don's got to drive up to Greenwood, so we do want to get him on the road. But, Don, we greatly appreciate you coming down tonight. It's been a pleasure to work with you. Fantastic job. I think, when I first talked to Don, he said, who all's been there? And I kind of told him, he said, why do you want me? And I said, because you're Don Fischer, because you're a legend, because you're a Hoosier, and we're proud of you. And Larra, again, you're Larra. I mean, you're always welcome here. How about a nice round of applause for Don one more time?
Thank you, Shawn.
Hello, I'm Ethan Beliles here with 88.1 WNAS New Albany, and we are here with the legendary Don Fischer. And me and my friends here just have a few questions. I'm going to go ahead and start it with, as somebody who is looking to pursue a career in sports broadcasting and sports media in the future, what is one piece of advice that you think you could give me that I can look back, reflect on, and maybe use to help me?
Well, the biggest thing right now in the world that we live in today, you've got to go to telecommunications school. You've got to get a job. You got to go to college. You've got to get into one of those programs, because that's where you can learn the most. Back when I was doing that, I think I explained that to our crowd tonight, is that when I started out, I started in small town radio.
Yeah.
But there aren't as many of those places around these days. If you want to get into this business, that you can actually learn the craft and get a chance to get the experience that you need to do play-by-play. If you don't do games, you can't get better. Right. And listen to those games too. Those are the two things I would say.
I'm gonna hand it off.
All right.
So I'm growing in my broadcasting experience, and just one piece of advice, like you would say to give before I go to a game and prep for a game. What would one thing you think I should really do and write down to know what to say and how to call the game?
Well, here's what I do before I ever go on the air. I write out about 1 minute and 15 seconds of a monologue, how I want to open the broadcast. I do that today, even 50 or 60 years into this business. I still do it today, because if you write out what you want to say and you know all the things that you need to put into that first little minute and 15 seconds,
Yes, sir.
that way you get started without flubbing around and trying to ad-lib something that you don't really, you know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
So just write it out initially. It doesn't matter that you're reading it or whatever, but try to make it sound as conversational as you can.
Gotcha. Yes,
And
sir.
outside of that, that's the way to get started. And then you can go on and talk to your color analyst or whatever if you're doing play-by-play or that kind of thing. Or if there's something that you have a good insight on and that you want to talk about, then you're there because you already know what you want to talk about.
Yes, sir.
You know
I
what
appreciate that.
You bet.
There you go, Caden.
All right, Don. I've been listening to you for my whole life. I'm an Indiana fan. I remember some games don't go too well. We would leave early. My family down there, season ticket holders. I was wondering, because me and him started doing broadcasting last year, what was the biggest mistake you made on live air?
Oh, the biggest mistake I made when I came to Indiana was I called Indiana University. And I came from Illinois now. Remember this? The University of Illinois? I called it the University of Indiana 3 times in the first broadcast I did for IU.
Mm-hmm.
And we were playing Illinois that day, and Indiana lost the game to Illinois 28-14. But I called Indiana University of Indiana 3 times because I was used to saying University of Illinois, growing up, being an Illinois fan, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Dumbest thing I ever did. Almost got fired because they said if I said it one more time in the second half of the ball game, I was going to get fired.
Oh my gosh, dang.
That's so. You learn very quickly not to say University of Indiana.
Yes, sir. Gotcha.